Welcome, fellow inmates of Europe and free people of the world. Welcome to the Wokenschau and welcome, Achim.
Hello. How are you, Paul?
Actually, not that good, but that's the reason we're here, right?
You sound good, though.
Thank you very much. And you look good. That's why we teamed up.
Yeah, okay.
Because,
I see. Yeah.
Because we decided there are some things about Germany that maybe some people ought to know out there.
Yes,
right?
we always think that people are not very interested in German affairs, but we hear a lot from them that what's going on in your country. And so they ask us, are they all mad? What's happening? What are the next moves? So we have come up with the idea to explain it to people who can't speak German.
True.
Yes.
The simple answer would be yes, they are all mad. And what's going to happen next? Well, it looks like it's going to be a mighty fuck up. But if we look at the details, it's quite interesting actually, because they are, how could we put this? There are some historical parallels maybe to former things that happened in the German past.
Absolutely. Yes, the funniest thing is that, the authoritarian system doesn't recognize itself as being so.
True, and you could say, and that is actually really not pushing it, you could say that Germany is well within or well on the path to war. That's the official statement from our Secretary of Defense, from our Chancellor.
I didn't know.
Yes,
I always thought it was such an idea that some fearful people have.
No, you're misinformed.
I'm misinformed.
Yes, you're misinformed.
So we're on the way. We're on the at least to being ready for war.
It's worse. Our Secretary for Economy reminded everybody of the fact that he is also the Secretary for Rüstung. Rüstungsminister. And the last Rüstungsminister we actually had was an architect, a guy called Albert Speer.
Oh.
He was famous for being Rüstungsminister of an Austrian politician.
I thought he was responsible for the big buildings that were planned in Berlin.
Also,
yes.
But actually the German Secretary of Economy reminded us that he is also Rüstungsminister, Secretary for Defense Infrastructure. You could translate that that way.
Yes, I suppose so.
And we had a German general for the first time ever.
Actually. Rüstung, Armament?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds more dangerous.
Very good.
Yeah.
And we had, for the first time since 1945, actually, we had a German general addressing the public in the Bundespressekonferenz, telling us that our Eastern Front, that was his wording, his actual wording. That
we have an Eastern Front as well.
Ostflanke.
Oh, yeah, it sounds better in German.
Ostflanke.
The Ostflanke.
The Ostflanke.
Yeah.
That needs to be strengthened, and that we need to prepare for divisions of the U.S. Army moving through Europe, and that we have to support them as a country.
Yeah, but it seems to me a big thing. What are they fantasizing?
War.
To me, being perhaps too naive, I still have the idea that Putin wanted to not be subdued too much in the Ukraine and said, okay, we go as far as this. I want a part of the Ukraine, which is illegal, of course. But this, to me, is a local theater.
You're obviously a fascist. You are quite obviously a fascist because from the German Secretary of the Interior's point of view, if you belong to our democracy, that is the legal phrase or the actual term. Our democracy, that is what she says all the time. Yeah. We need to strengthen our democracy, and democratic politicians, that's an important term for later on. Yes. Democratic politicians all agree that Putin needs to be stopped in Ukraine, because if he doesn't, he's going to invade Berlin. That's more or less the official wording. She didn't say that literally, but that's the impression she's giving.
I'm a little behind. Invading Berlin is on the list already. So Putin is actually secretly planning that.
Officially, it's the Baltic states. That's what they just said in Poland. There was I think this thing was called the Defense 24 meeting or whatever. They officially declared that Putin is going to invade the Baltic states right after he's done with Ukraine.
Oh, I see. How do they know?
Is
this an official Secret Service knowledge?
Well, the guy who stated
how did they sell it? Did they sell that he might, or did they say we have certain knowledge that he's actually planning?
He might, and they are certain.
Okay.
That's what they said. And they had a general from Estonia, I think, who agreed and said, we just have to stop Putin right now, and there is no alternative to war. So that's the official thing. And guess where the German Secretary of Defense was while this thing was going on in Poland?
In Kiev?
No. In the United States, of course. He was visiting Boeing because I think he bought 26 or 30 Chinook transport helicopters.
Yes, the ones with the double.
Yes, the ones constantly crashing. Actually, they are. I think they're one of the most likely helicopters to crash.
Yes, I find that I have enjoyed the springtime here too much already because I'm naive. So, a country in preparation for war is something different than a normal country that I'm used to live in. We've had, during my lifetime, it was always the biggest principle never to get close to war in any way. And all of a sudden, when evil turns up, we're already really quickly, aren't we?
Of course. But that is the most German thing to do and to say, actually, because the ruling party in Germany is, just aside the so-called Social Democrats, is the Green Party.
Yes.
And they were elected as the party of peace and pacifism.
Yes.
And they are the ones, and you really have to get that turn here, they are the ones that are now heavily propagating the delivery of tanks to the Eastern Front because they say that is the only way to secure peace.
Yes, but then of course, because when evil turns up, you have to quickly get rid of it. So even if you are for peace, you have to quickly get rid of evil if it's as evil as the Russians.
I see. So you see, even as a German from the Cold War time, you're able to make that shift. Well, there's some hope for you.
Yes,
there is some hope for you.
It's the just war. The just war.
Very good.
I always thought we had to defend ourselves justly, but to actually attack. No, this wouldn't be an attack. No, it wouldn't be an attack, of course, because Putin has. Oh my God.
You're rapidly improving.
Yes, yes, I'm getting better.
That's the principle of our democracy.
Oh yes, our democracy.
And there's a second very important term you really have to understand, and that is democratic politicians.
Democratic politicians.
Because there's a difference.
Yeah, because they stress it so much now. Because I was thinking that we were living in a sort of democracy, where we where we could vote every 4 years, and the parties do what they want anyway. But now we have to stress the term democratic all the time because it's not clear what it means. I have a sort of old-fashioned idea about democracy where different positions are in a battle or are in a dialogue, and you find the best solutions. But now I start to realize that our democracy is a fixed thing.
Very good. Because what you were actually describing there, that is right-wing extremism. That is fascist, what you just said.
When democracy is a struggle between positions.
True. Yep. Be careful there. It's our democracy. And in our democracy, you have democratic politicians that are democratically elected. And the other politicians that were elected within the democratic systems are not democratic and therefore right-wing extremists.
Yes.
And they do not belong to, quote, the democratic spectrum that we can tolerate. That is what Mr. Friedrich Merz just said, and he is the head of the biggest official oppositional party, the CDU.
Okay, so this is where the overtone window comes in?
Correct.
When you're democratic, you're not supposed to leave the overtone window.
Correct.
Because you might support the wrong side, the ones that are not inside the democracy.
Correct.
And you might state positions that are against the suppressed minorities.
Correct. And that would be right-wing extremism.
Yes,
that would be fascist. Right. Yeah. And if you do not belong to the democratic spectrum of our democracy and the democratic politicians, it is absolutely okay if you're beaten up or physically attacked.
Yeah. So it's physically dangerous for me to hold on to a traditional idea, Anglo-Saxon idea, old-fashioned idea of a democracy where different interest groups struggle with each other. When I hang on to this, I'm physically endangered.
Absolutely true. And you're a right-wing extremist. It is true.
Yeah.
We have to go back to Dresden, because Dresden is a city in Germany where extreme things happen, actually. That was during the war, it was the case. And just a few days ago, a politician was attacked. A democratic politician belonging to our democracy. He was attacked. He belongs to the ruling party in Germany, the so-called Social Democrats.
Yes.
And he was attacked while putting up just Wahlwerbung.
The stand for an election stand.
Yeah, because we have European elections coming up. That is a really interesting thing there. The so-called European Union is having its elections. Yeah. He was putting up a stand there, and he was attacked physically by a 17-year-old guy. Yeah. And that triggered something in Germany, this event.
Yeah.
Would you care to explain?
Yes. I was wondering why this 17-year-old has triggered another big uproar in Germany, whilst other politicians from the non-democratic spectrum get beaten up every day and get their cars burnt and get cancelled and their bank accounts cancelled and everything for years. And nobody get up. Now you've explained to me they were not from the democratic spectrum, as we say, the wrong people.
Correct.
And so therefore you can beat them up.
Correct.
Good.
Because the actual biggest oppositional party in Germany is called the Alternative for Germany, or AfD, Alternative für Deutschland. And they are at around, I think, 30% or something if you look at the polls, the pre-election polls. So they are hugely important. But officially, from the point of view of all the other parties, they are non-democratic.
No.
So there's a thing that we call the Brandmauer.
Sounds good.
Brandmauer is very important.
We probably have some friends of German bluntness out there in the English-speaking world. Brandmauer.
Yeah, they're probably standing up right now, putting on their uniforms and just ironing them again, because Brandmauer is very important. Yeah. Brandmauer would translate to blast wall or blast door or firewall.
Firewall, actually.
But a physical firewall.
Yes.
So the most important thing in German interior politics is die Brandmauer.
Yeah.
Because die Brandmauer must stehen.
Yeah.
The firewall must hold. Against what?
Against the party of the non-democratic spectrum, AfD.
Exactly.
Which is a party, which is officially a party, which is a legal party, which can be voted for, is a regular party with people that don't eat children. Yeah. Careful. That's disinformation. The biggest single threat to democracy, to our democracy, is misinformation. So be careful there. But you're learning. We're getting there. With love, yes,
LOV, we're getting there.
I have to start learning because it's too dangerous for my social life.
It is. Not only your social life.
Sitting here with you, a man in a black shirt, talking openly about the AfD in a setting like this is not done. Nobody else does it. I'm sorry to say, Paul.
Could be difficult, but and then at the same time, both sides are wearing black shirts. Black shirts, if you belong to the Antifa in Germany, are sort of the standard of democratical support, and you're on the forefront of supporting and defending our democracy. But if you wear a black shirt in other contexts, but that's a different topic. Let's stick with the AfD. So for a couple of years now, politicians from the AfD, from the Alternative für Deutschland, who represent just momentarily around 6 million voters in Germany, they're part of the Bundestag, like the Congress, or it's not the Congress, it's the lower house of the German bicameral system.
The victims of disinformation, the voters.
They are?
Yeah.
Of course. Very good. You're learning fast. Wow.
Yeah. Now I have to find my way through my social life in Germany. So therefore I have to know what they're doing. Not talk about AfD, not vote for them, not say you vote for them. That's highly important after you got the family and everything and have to survive. But thank God nobody's listening.
But let's be transparent. I mean, you belong to this system of öffentlich-rechtlichen Rundfunk in Germany. So you were part of the public broadcasting system. So maybe that's the rest of that talent there. Maybe there's some hope for you. Maybe there's some hope for you.
I know how they're ticking.
Good. Yeah. Maybe there's some. Maybe we can do something for you.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we have this.
So I can stop talking about the AfD.
No, sorry, you can't, because I think if you insist, of course, we can stop talking about the AfD. But I think
have to.
Do we?
No.
as long as we make sure that they're absolutely undemocratic, it's not okay to vote for them. And that's not a joke. This guy, Friedrich Merz, who belongs to the Christian Democratic Union, the former ruling party in Germany, and Angela Merkel was part of that.
Yeah.
He actually said that on live television, the state-run channel, that the members of the party AfD do not belong to the democratic spectrum.
Yes, that's what we learn now.
And he actually added, it's not okay to attack democratic politicians. So he didn't expressly say you may attack members of the AfD, but it's kind of implied.
Yes. But it's getting even more dangerous because the members of the actual opposition party CDU, which is the
Angela Merkel
Conservatives,
party.
The Angela Merkel party, says that the AfD are Nazis. That's what they say. It's so not only part of the...
It's thin ice now. I think we have to really watch out now. But you're right. Henrik Wüst, the man is a prime minister of the state of North Rhine-Westphalia, I guess, is it? So he's a regional governor. He just had a very spontaneous rally. It was kind of interesting how spontaneously everything was organized about 24 hours after this attack on this politician.
Oh, yeah.
So they had the rally just right in front of the Brandenburg gate. And he declared that the AfD is officially a Nazi party because its members are Nazi. They're behaving like Nazis, and you have to call them a Nazi party.
Yeah, so I'm a hobby historian. Yeah.
You heard about the Nazis?
I heard about the Nazis quite a lot, actually, and I have to state now here that although I do not like the Nazis, this is an utter lie. So Mr. Wüst stands there and tells a lie to the democratic spectrum of the public, or what?
I guess it's very thin ice now. We really have to watch out how to phrase that. But
it's a blatant lie. So you have a politician, they lie most of the time, but most of the time they don't do it in such a blatant way. But now saying that the AfD is Nazis because they act as if they are, how do you say in Germany, they have Kreide gefressen, though they act as if they were harmless, but their secret thoughts are dangerous. So Mr. Wüst assumes that the thoughts of these people are dangerous whilst they're behaving normally. So this is a very dangerous thing for me too. What do I do when I behave normally in a normal setting? I'm accepted by other people, but when they start to think that my thoughts are evil, what do I do
And
then?
you might secretly be a Nazi.
Exactly.
But in Germany...
Now look at my haircut. Yeah.
In Germany, because we've seen this, we accepted this problem as a part of the German life. We have a special part of the police force that is dedicated to finding these kind of Nazis, and that is also not a joke.
Yeah.
We have something called the Verfassungsschutz.
Oh yes, it's tradition.
Yes.
Traditional sections of police.
Yes.
Great, yes.
It's a special form of secret police, so it's the domestic intelligence service that is not directed at counterintelligence things and prevention of terroristic things. That's also a department they have, but their main issue is to find Nazis. That's actually not only Nazis. The official declaration is people who are enemies of the Constitution.
Yeah.
But strange enough, they constantly declare that the only relevant enemies of the Constitution are Nazis.
As the Americans installed this thing after the war, I think, to do exactly that, because they were afraid that some of the Germans still would want to reinstall the Nazis, and so therefore the Verfassungsschutz was installed, and now they're only doing their job, aren't they?
It sounds good, or it looks good on paper, but the thing is, like, directly after the end of the Nazi war, with all these Nazi judges and Nazi policemen, just guess what happened to all of those people in their careers?
They were promoted quite heavily.
Yeah. They were.
They were highly qualified.
Yeah,
most of the time.
That's really the official declaration they gave, or the official statements, because these Nazi judges who executed people, who sentenced Jews and others to death, they were kept in their positions, actually promoted, and they were only thrown out in case some really bloody pictures showed up, which was not the case back then because there was obviously no internet and anything else. So they had a continuity there with the real Nazis. They installed the Verfassungsschutz, and this Verfassungsschutz now is hunting Nazis just such as yourself or myself. People who might secretly be Nazis, who don't behave like Nazis and don't act like Nazis, but might have Nazi thoughts that they are not willing to express openly.
You can tell when you talk about AfD, it's like a disease. So the regular person doesn't talk about the AfD,
not openly,
except for oh my God, that's impossible, horrible people.
Yes.
So
I would never vote for them. That's sort of if you bring the topic to the AfD, you open with I would never vote for these people. Yes. I despise them.
And I do street interviews in another format where I ask people.
You do other formats?
Not much longer, actually, I suppose.
Winterswoche, so if you speak German, it's really worth a look.
Yeah, okay. But it's very dangerous to be here and talk about the AfD with you, so I don't know how long this format will go on.
Not very long.
The funny thing is, I ask people questions, and they think I'm a normal person, and I bring up the topic of AfD if they think that they are treated badly for no reasons, or does AfD deserve to be treated that badly? They immediately back down. So you have a normal conversation with people on the street with the microphone, and as soon as you pose a question that leads towards the idea that you might be willing to talk about AfD like a normal party, they stop the interview. So that's what we do.
That's our democracy.
Yeah, that's our democracy.
That's our democracy. That's what you're expected to do. That's what the Brandmauer is all about. So these other parties under the leadership of CDU and SPD, the largest parties that normally make up the government in Germany, they decided to call this form of behavior the Brandmauer. Like, we're excluding this other party from everything, meaning really everything. Although they are members of the parliament representing 6 million voters there, they're the largest oppositional fraction. They are completely denied any form of participations in the subcommittees. So it's German tradition that the largest oppositional parties, they they just deliver the presidents or the chairman of these committees, and the AfD is excluded from everything.
Yes.
And they constantly come up with this Vorwurf. What's Vorwurf? Vorwurf is firstly accusation, of course. I'm sorry, with the accusation that they are Nazis. And of course, we now have to exterminate the Nazis. That is what their wording, the actual wording. Yeah. It is of course okay to physically attack Nazis. That is the slogan of the very important group called Antifa, the German Antifaschistische Aktion, which is represented in parliament by, just unofficially, the Secretary of the Interior, Ms. Faeser.
They want to do it right this time.
Of course.
You know, as people of my generation or younger, they've been taught that not enough was done against the Nazis in the 30s. So their raison d'être is now to fight the Nazis better than their grandparents did.
Nie wieder ist jetzt.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going on here, actually. So the longer Hitler has been dead, the more intense this is the fight against him.
True, and the more
that's
people
what
are.
Mr. Broder said.
True.
Yeah. Not understanding the fact, and that's why the East Germans vote more for the AfD, because they are not as restrained as we are by this sort of education. They concentrated on other things. It's sheer desperation of them because of the developments in the general developments in our country. The regular parties of our democratic spectrum do not do anything against them. The problems are not tackled. People get poorer. Immigration flows in. Everything goes mad with green politics that cost a lot of money. And so most of these 6 million voters are not even right-wing because they are desperate. They just want an opposition.
Obviously, you need a lot of re-education there, but there were some right things in there. But because of that, and because of this anti-democratic behavior of the East Germans, Friedrich Merz, while on this state-owned news program there, also said East Germans need more explanation.
Absolutely,
that's what he said.
Yeah,
and the East Germans were very happy being recognized and seen there. And his polls instantly made a change, I think. I think CDU instantly lost a few percentages.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Yeah, but the East Germans are very keen on being educated.
They love that. They love that.
Because, you know, they are seen by the Western, our democracy spectrum, as fallen behind, a bit stupid.
Yes.
Haven't learned the proper democratic rules from the Americans. So there is a lot of work to be done.
True.
And they don't like it. It's like when your mother says, sit straight. What do you do?
True. So that is what we call like Probleme der Wiedervereinigung, like problems of reunification. Germany is heavily working on that. But the good news for all of that, there's somebody here able and willing and just set up to heal that. And he constantly talks about Heile machen is a very important phrase for the German Kennedy, because we have one guy who's really whose charisma has the energy of a freight train and who is really bound to heal all these wounds, and that is Robert Habeck.
Yeah.
We should explain who Robert Habeck is.
Our Minister of Economy.
And Rüstung.
And armament, a post that normally was not very important in Germany. People most of the time didn't even know the Minister of Economy, but since he's in charge of the green transformation, the total green transformation of our energy system, and since he's the Vice Chancellor, the Vice Prime Minister, and he happens to be quite good looking. Quite good looking.
There are people who believe that.
Some say women like his looks because he's so relaxed. You always have the feeling that he can't even shave himself properly.
And he's the modern man, right? He's not as conservative as we are. Yeah. He's the légère, the kind of je ne sais quoi man. Yeah.
And a soft-spoken manner, you know, and he understands. And so there's quite a number of people who love that sort of thing. People like us don't like it, you know.
I love him, of course.
Yes.
He has a PhD in literature. His actual...
Isn't it sociology?
I think I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I thought it was literature. I'm sorry. But he is an author. So his main job actually was writing children's books. And he does that together, I think, with his wife.
He co-authored a child's book.
So you're trying to play him down. You're really trying to make him look bad.
Yeah, because he's always dealt with as an author of children's books. But I suppose he's just co-authored a children's book with his wife, who is actually the author of this thing.
Which is also important because their latest book, I think, would translate to 50 ways of Armageddon and how the world is probably going to end, or the best
50 ways of going under.
That is his latest book.
And it's not as bad to go under because there will be a new world with you in the middle of it.
And just completely unrelated, as a Minister of Energy Transformation, he kind of oversaw the destruction of the Nord Stream gas pipeline by the United States, and he also shut down all the German nuclear power plants and destroyed them. So it's to make it impossible to put them back up in case the elections should turn out unfavorable for him. So Germany is now out of nuclear power plants, out of gas that was delivered from Russia, and completely relies on, I think it's solar power and the totally unrelated import of American fracking gas.
Which has to be done because the final goal, of course, is being completely independent of fossil fuels. They don't know how this is going to work because they haven't got the technology yet.
But it's going to work.
It's better to start, you know? Correct. When you don't know what to do, better start the progression and see what happens in the end. That's what he said. He said, we want to take some risks. And in the end, when it works, if it works, we'll be the heroes. But unfortunately, the technology for that sort of thing is not there. And the consequence will be that we're going to pots economically. And then we say, what do we say? We say, oops.
But he wouldn't be Robert Kennedy Habeck if he didn't have a plan for that. And he does have a plan. And that is the complete transformation of the transformation to a so-called war economical system, the Kriegsindustrie.
Oh, that's always helped. That's always helped.
That is a very German tradition.
Yeah, because you can, you can handle the people of the non-democratic spectrum as well. You can handle them better.
That's how all the things come together, see? Yeah.
But you're on dangerous ground again because Mr. Habeck has started to sue people when they criticize him. True. And they actually, and that's also important to understand modern day Germany, about 2 years ago, I think it's 3 years now, they actually reformed the German criminal code and they introduced a new article there. It's article number 188 out of some reason. You're a source of knowledge. It's amazing.
Well, that is, there are reasons for me to know this specific article.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Okay.
This article number 188 of the German criminal code says that it is now illegal to make fun of so-called political figures, to denounce them or defame political figures. And it's important to know that although there is no actual freedom of speech in Germany, we kind of prided ourselves in a theoretical freedom of speech, which was only limited by gross insults. So if I would call you something very, very insulting, just obviously insulting, that would be criminally punishable. But
as in any other country.
No, actually not, as in many Anglo-Saxon countries, it's not the case. You can sue people civically and then just make claims for monetary reimbursement. But in Germany, it's actually a criminal thing. You could go to jail. for calling someone something like a cunt, for instance. Yeah. So, but for politicians, the German Constitutional Court said they must accept a certain form of vulgarity to ensure freedom of speech. And because that was the case, politicians just introduced this new article to the criminal code to close this hole, as they put it.
Yeah, but why are you still at large then?
Yeah, there are actually about 60 criminal investigations against myself right now because I just made the mistake of stating my mind about these politicians. And Mr. Habeck tried to sue a journalist for comparing him to, I think, an alcoholic at the train station because Mr. Habeck...
He looked like one.
Oh my God. Mr. Habeck loves to spread pictures of himself in a very légère posture.
Légère is a good word, with a hoodie and unshaven.
Yeah, especially he was sitting at a train station, on the floor of a train station, just in socks with his shoes off.
Yeah.
And a journalist said, well, normally only alcoholics or just drug victims at the train station do that. And for comparing Mr. Habeck to these alcoholics, he was sued.
Yeah.
Strange enough, The whole thing was turned down. The court decided not to criminally. Yes, that was kind of.
And that's the reason why you are still sitting here, because I was hoping we could repeat this sort of thing several times, but you're always on the brink of jail then.
Yeah, well, I just left the country and just I just immigrated out of Germany because of these things.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that a method?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to find out, because if I'm not arrested, it will work. Yeah,
because entering the country is always a danger of getting caught, isn't it?
True.
I mean, it's better to how do you say untertauchen? How do you say
just to hide
to go
somewhere.
into hiding? Yeah.
Yeah, but just up to now, they didn't close the borders, which is another topic actually, which is kind of important for the German present situation, because number one on the list of popular boys' names in Germany right now is, take a guess.
Paul.
No. And it's not Achim, it's Mohammed.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mohammed just made number one in Germany. Not everywhere in Germany, it's just in some states. In Berlin, which is one of the biggest states from the amount of people. In North Rhine-Westphalia, which is the sort of a very huge state, I think it's number 2 on the list. In Hamburg, it's number 1.
It's an agrarian. No, North Rhine-Westphalia is not agrarian. No, I've got that wrong.
But
I thought it was.
Yes, it's R from their state of mind, but it's just technically it's
they
not.
Have big cities, of
they
course.
They do. Terrible cities, but they're large. And but in Hamburg, in Bremen, like very big German industrial cities, Mohammed is number 1.
Of course.
Of course, it's a wonderful name. Yeah. It's a traditional name in Germany.
Now, if I look at you now, if you put a sort of a traditional Muslim attire on, you could easily go through as a Mohammed.
Thank you. So you're really getting the hang of our democracy there. Yeah. But other people disagree, and they don't find that as good, actually. Yeah, and specifically the members of the totally undemocratic party AfD. They tend to criticize the situation because they're not in favor of this extreme amount of how do you call them? I think it's we don't call them immigrants in Germany. We call them Flüchtlinge.
We call them all sorts of things in order not to hurt them.
Yes, the official term is Flüchtlinge, and we always have to emphasize that these people are traumatized, that they need our help, and we are not allowed to criticize them. But as I said, the AfD, the Nazi party, they tend to criticize these people, and especially one young woman named Marie-Therese Kaiser.
You are a source of knowledge. Where do you get that all from? It's brilliant.
From that monitor over there, because I just wrote it all down. But this woman was just sued, and she was convicted by this German court system in the second ruling, actually. So she already just went to court again, challenged that, and she was sued for Volksverhetzung. How would we translate Volksverhetzung?
Can't translate it. I mean, it's stirring up hatred in a people.
Causing civil unrest or creating, it's sort of the first hate crime. Just talking about this right now, I realized that we Germans invented hate crimes. I mean, the world knew, but that we also had that within our country. So Volksverhetzung would translate to stirring hate within the people, right?
Yeah, but the Nazis invented it, but they accused the others of doing it.
We're not doing that again right now.
The Nazis, the actually hating part of the population, invented accusing others of hate.
Nobody said German history was easy.
Yeah. No, but there is a certain system in it. You know, things are repeating itself.
Careful, thin ice.
Yeah, and the funny thing to me is what we see in George Orwell's. How do you say?
1984.
1984.
Guess who wrote the preface?
Guess
who wrote the preface for the latest edition of 1984?
A child book author?
A guy with a PhD.
So he is repeating now, or he is constructing 1984 and writes a foreword to the book that's describing it. You must be joking.
No, I'm not. No, you can actually look this up. This is a true fact. It's a fact, actually.
Yeah. So the reversal of meanings. Yeah, like for example, I think this AfD people, if they're not hating but looking for a regular democratic conservative bourgeois,
but they're not. They're Nazis.
Yeah, if they do that,
theoretically speaking,
they damage the biggest rule in our society that has been left over from the Nazi time is being nice. Or being lovely, being likable, being agreeable. That's our utmost religion now. And since these AfD people want things that are not nice because they have consequences for a certain number of people, especially migrants. So they don't comply with the biggest religious rule of being always nice and likable and never be aggressive or whatever, or not even wanting consequences. So all the voters for AfD are automatically not nice, and that's the equivalent of hatred now.
That's all true. And that immediately explains the two main dilemmas of German existence. You can't be nice and you can't be funny if you're German. And
funny.
Of course, and Germans prove that every day.
Yeah.
So in this case of Marie-Therese Kaiser, I'm not willing to give her up because her case is important.
Yeah.
She was convicted of this Volksverhetzung, stirring hatred within the people, because she publicized official statistics, governmental statistics, of the fact that the Afghan immigrants, I think they're just by 10 times more likely to be the perpetrators in cases of group rapes.
A special deed.
Yes.
How do you say, a special crime?
Like you have to actually add that before 2015, that's when Angela Merkel really opened the German borders and started this invasional flood of migrants. We really didn't have these kind of group rapes as a thing. I mean, there were probably cases, but it was nothing you constantly read in the newspapers.
It's a very special tradition.
Very rare tradition. So ever since we have these wonderful, diverse immigrants here, we have these group mass raping things going on. And obviously, as Afghans are the number one suspects, and just by 10 times before Syrians or something, and she publicly talked about this statistic. She shared it on Twitter, on X, and said, "Wow, you mayor of Hamburg, you're inviting more Afghans. So are you affirming group rapes?" I think that was her form of her thing.
I'm preparing the ground for more group rapes.
That's what she said, and she was convicted for that. That's 6,000 euros, and she's officially vorbestraft now.
Vorbestraft meaning it's very bad for you because you are in the documents that you have been punished. That has social consequences for you.
Yeah, you're a delinquent.
You're a delinquent. But again, I've learned. I just realized by my inner gut feelings when you talk about this case and you say it's a strange case that you're on the wrong side of history.
Very good. You're making quick improvements here.
Why do you talk about it? I mean, what do you want to say?
Because we have to learn from that fact. Or let me say that with Elon Musk.
It's okay that this woman is convicted for stirring up truth.
That is what the German Secretary of the Interior says. Mr. Elon Musk, the kind of owner of Twitter X, was irritated by the fact, and he just reacted to that and asked if it's now illegal in Germany to share official government statistics. And of course, the ruling Green Party reacted to that, calling Twitter and Elon Musk, I think, a center or headquarter of right extremism and anti-democratic activities and misinformation.
Yeah, he is for liberty of speech,
and that is very problematic.
That's if you're for, do you say liberty of speech?
I think it's freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech. When you promote that, as Mr. Musk does, means that you let the evil people also speak.
You're not part of our democracy.
So before it was a nice censorship, a big number of people took care in Twitter headquarters that only the lovely people can speak, and only the lovely people can be horrible to evil people.
Or beat them up.
Because that's for a good cause. So now Elon Musk comes and lets all the wrong people speak too. Of course. He's an agent of evil himself.
True. Yeah. And that is why it's more or less expected in certain parts of the German media scene that there might be a movement within German politics to ban Twitter, to outlaw Twitter in Germany. It's not the official program.
They'd love to. Yeah.
At least there's constant chatter about that. And the need for banning Twitter is openly discussed within these parties. Well, talking about evil people, there's one last topic this week we can't ignore, because there's one special group of people that you are allowed to like, and some special form of hate that is just still legal in Germany, and that is, funny thing, antisemitism.
Oh, yeah, of course.
That is okay. I mean, it's Germany after all, right?
Keep your traditions. Yeah.
So we as we always do in Germany, we adapt the Anglo-Saxon traditions, and in this case, of course, the pro-Hamas, pro-Palestine demonstrations against Israel, of course, in German universities.
Yes, in a very, very, how do you say, intense way. It's a big party. You know, the being pro-Palestine is a very, how to say, party-like, wonderful. They've got a good atmosphere. Everybody's loving it, being able to make statements with the shawl and with everything.
But of course,
it's really impressive to me as well that an organization that is openly promoting terrorism, or is a terrorist organization with all its parts, can become, like with Diana, the organization of hearts.
True.
You know, so kill a few people and they love you.
True. Yeah. And very German about the situation is that at the same time, of course, while we openly promote Hamas and German universities.
And pay Hamas.
And pay Hamas quite directly. Of course, at the same time, the ruling parties constantly emphasize the fact that the security and the existence of the State of Israel is part of the German national, how do you call that?
Folklore.
Not only folklore, of course, also folklore, but des Nationalbewusstseins der Staatsziel.
Raison d'être.
It's kind of the meaning of the state, or the reason of being for the German nation, of course, is to ensure the safety of Israel. So at the same time, and that is dual thinking, that's Orwell, that's 1984. Read the preface, it's wonderful. Just a guy wrote it, I really love him. I love this preface.
He described himself.
It's wonderful. Yeah. Anyway, at the same time, while we promote these pro-Hamas Palestinian demonstrations at the universities, of course, at the same time, want to guarantee this freedom and safety of Israel. That is the most German thing I think you can do.
Yeah, but you have to differentiate then,
of course,
between the good Israelis and the bad Israelis. The bad Israelis are around Netanyahu and his horrible people that voted for him, and the other ones are the good Israelis, and then it is mixed with Jewishness as well. So because, you know.
No, I don't.
You don't understand.
Sorry,
no, that's good. No, because Israel is a Jewish state, and so everybody. That's too difficult.
It is.
Yeah,
I think it's just from judging from their speeches, they really don't understand that either, and they're not quite sure what to do because we have seen a soar in anti-Semitic violence in Germany over the last years. That was kind of I would say historic, but then we had some kind of problems with anti-Semitic violence in Germany a couple of decades ago. So we have a historic rise in there, and it heavily correlates to the number of Islamic immigrants in Germany. But of course, if you in any way push that point, just ask Marie-Therese Kaiser what happens.
You have to decide which side you're on.
Of history.
If accepting Muslim immigrants as an act of humanity, so you're on their side. Yeah? And if these people happen to be anti-Jewish, so what do? It's the easy way out is to side with the Muslims because there's more of them, more Muslims than Jewish people here.
And if at the same time they happen to burn synagogues again and attack Jews on the open street, then we just ignore that.
Yeah,
and we don't talk about that.
We've taken sides.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Didn't we want to say some positive things about developments in Germany?
We should, please. Just take a look at the German economy. Maybe that
because they know that they never come here again when they listen to us.
Who? The viewers.
The viewers.
Well, I guess
some of them might be of German descent, and they'll say, "Okay, we don't come back to Heidelberg anymore."
No, I heavily really count on these German descents because I mean I'm an immigrant right now in another state, and I'm heavily in favor of remigration actually. But my favorite pastime is sitting there and in the garden somewhere and just looking at the German news. And there's a bit of Schadenfreude in there.
I see.
Yeah, I have to admit.
The tide has turned, you mean? There are things are going wrong that point into the right direction. You're right there. Because up until 1 year ago, you thought, okay, it's always going down. It's a downward spiral, and there are no consequences. People are still fairly well off. Everything goes well. The economy is still working. But now...
At least they believe that was the case.
They believed it, and it looked as if it was going to be better again. But now, as you say, when you read the news now, there's a lot of things that we said for a few years
Well, war is like the basic, the most important thing, because that is really officially where things are heading, and that is what the whole system wants. That's what the ruling parties want, with the exception of the ruling chancellor right now. So that's what they put him as, or Mr. Olaf Scholz, who is now the chancellor of Germany. He's sort of the single biggest hindrance to Germany's entrance into the war. That is what his coalition partners are saying. But my personal bet there is that we're going to see a very, let's say, interesting time here in Germany the next month.
Oh my God, yeah.
Don't you think so?
Yeah. May you be living in boring times. Yeah. That's what the Chinese say.
True. We are definitely not here in Germany. No. And as long as we are able to, I guess we just keep on kind of giving you an update about that.
Yes, that's right. I mean, you have enough entertaining things, for example, in America and in England, Great Britain as well. There are
True.
also very interesting things, but we are together in the sliding position.
Yeah, well, and opposed to Germany, like we are sort of on the front to what NATO is doing in the East here, and we're a lot closer to that theater of war they're just opening up. So just grab popcorn, make sure you have cold beer, and sit back and enjoy the show, I guess.
And as long as you can see us here, means that Paul has not been arrested yet, and that the war hasn't started. So keep coming back.
See you soon.